Hello again, welcome back to Canary Cast. Before we start, like, subscribe and ding the little bell to be updated with all the latest videos, and stick around to the end of the video. You'll know by now that we've got a great offer with FansBet. I'm joined by the elusive Joe Hinchcliffe. How are we?
All good, mate, all good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're actually missing Jacob for, I think, one of the first
once.
times.
Yeah.
Lazy slacker. Anyway, let's move straight on. We're previewing Preston. What do you reckon to Preston so far this season with one game played?
Yeah, it's hard to make any sort of conclusions now, isn't it? But it's Alex Neil's fourth season at the club, so you see clubs go through these cycles, and you think you get to the fourth season, and after sort of two of the three previous seasons finishing just outside the playoffs, you would forgive Preston fans for thinking they might have an outside shot at the playoffs this season. But by all accounts, the fans are a bit stressed out, as is Alex Neil, because they've signed absolutely no one. A few key players out of contract next summer as well. I think Brown, Pearson, Johnson, Davies, Fisher, they're all out of contract next summer. A couple of them, Johnson and Davies, are being linked with bigger clubs. Ben Davies, Bournemouth apparently want him. I think they've tabled a fairly poor bid, but Preston are looking for about 10 mil. And then apparently Daniel Johnson, who was their top goal scorer last season and scored their winning penalty last night against Derby, he's supposedly off to Rangers. But again, I think they've bid 2 or 3 million, and they're not willing to accept that. Bit of a weird one this week. I think he's their chairman, Peter Ridsdale. He came out and made a typed statement to the fans and was saying, "We'll only sell when we get the right price," blah, 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 which is all fair enough. But from memory, I think he'd done that in January 2018 when they were in the process of selling Jordan Hugill, who's obviously now at Norwich. They were selling him to West Ham, and he made a statement one day, and then the next day I think he went to West Ham. So take that with a pinch of salt. But yeah, they've got a number of threats that we'll need to deal with, but I think Swansea last weekend also exposed a few holes in their game. So it's definitely a winnable game, and one that we should be looking to win.
Talking of Swansea, obviously they did slip up at home to them on the opening day of the season. What about their sort of game do you think Norwich are positioned to exploit?
I think even if you just watch the highlights from that Swansea Preston game, Jake Bidwell, Swansea's left back, he had a lot of success getting in behind their defence, where sort of one of their central midfield players would play a big switching ball to the left-hand side, and he would be getting in against Alan Brown, that right back, who isn't a right back by any means. I think he normally plays in the midfield, quite far forward in the midfield, so a bit of a makeshift job there. I'm not sure why Fisher isn't playing. I'm not sure if he's injured, although he could have played last night in the cup actually. But yeah, the left back was getting in a lot, and if Jake Bidwell's doing that, I can't see why Max Aarons and Javi Quintilla can't do the same. But there are things we need to be aware of as well. Barkhuizen's a good player. They'll put balls into the box for Stockley if he comes on. So there's a number of threats that we will need to deal with.
We were talking about injuries. Back from injury is former Norwich keeper Declan Rudd. Now, do you think he'll start against Norwich for a bit of the old flame?
I think that's what he'll be wanting. I'm sure he's trained pretty hard this week. He's obviously just come back from a thigh injury, hence why he didn't play against Swansea. Connor Ripley played that game. Rudd was back in net last night for them at Pride Park, and he did play all 46 games last year, and Ripley was their cup keeper, if you like. So yeah, I would imagine he'll start, and he'll definitely want to start. That's for sure.
Obviously, they had the slip up against Swansea. But they returned in the cup against Derby and put in a really valiant performance with a sumptuous goal. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, it was a superb volley from Barkhuizen. It might have been a half volley actually, but regardless, superb. Yeah, they've done well. They went 1-0 down. Derby got a man sent off about 5 minutes later, I think. So they were playing 10 men for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. But they still came from behind. 92nd minute pen that won it from Daniel Johnson, I think. So they just about did it, but I was pleased that they won, to be honest, because you think they lose their first game of the season 1-0 at home to Swansea, and you're waiting for the inevitable reply to that. And I suppose they got that out of their system last night to some degree. Obviously, it's not a league game, but I mean, regardless, Harvey, Norwich are a club that we should be beating Preston at home. Let's not beat around.
It is expected that Norwich will beat them.
Yeah.
So let's turn our sights to our team, Norwich. How do you think they're going to line up? Because the first performance, whilst not conclusive, is there something that Daniel Farke could tweak to make the performance a bit more convincing, let's say?
I think the immediate thing that springs to mind is, of course, Buendia is back from injury. Suspension. His first game he's available for. He obviously done that interview this week as well. So I imagine that he will be wanting to be in the team, and of course we all want him to be in the team. So that is the only thing I can really see him changing, because you know what Daniel Farke's like. If a team are playing well and getting results, he doesn't change it that much, which I think is fair enough. We obviously have a much bigger squad now, but I think that will still be the case. He can be quite stubborn, and rightly so. So I'm expecting a pretty much unchanged team. I suppose you would put Buendia in there for Cantwell naturally, because that's his position, but I don't think Kieran Dowell played that well against Huddersfield. So I think maybe Cantwell or Buendia, one of them may be in the central role and Dowell drops to the bench. But if I had to put money on it, I'd say unchanged plus Buendia for probably Dowell or Cantwell.
Do you think we'll see any inclusion of Hugill against his former club?
Yeah, well, I imagine he's been training hard this week. Another one with links to Preston. The thing is,
difficult, isn't it?
I think, like, Teemu Pukki obviously didn't have a great 6 months. Daniel Farke put faith in him at Huddersfield, and there were a few moments in the game where Teemu didn't look that confident, like he didn't pull the trigger for certain shots and stuff. And I don't think the way to get his confidence back up is to drop him now after getting an assist and playing all right at Huddersfield. I think if you dropped him now, it would have a negative effect on his confidence. So I think he'll probably back Pukki, but I would be shocked if Hugill doesn't come in off the bench at some point. But it's weird.
But we were shocked at Huddersfield when he brought Oneida, but what a decision that turned out to be. So I wonder if Hugill's looking at the bench and wondering, I was pretty much going to be fighting for the top spot, but now he's fighting for second.
Well, I think this week is weird because there's an argument to start all three of our strikers. I think Pukki for the reasons I've just mentioned, confidence and stuff like that. Hugill because it's his old club and we all want to see him. And then, of course, Ida banged a hat-trick against Preston in the Cup in January.
Very true.
So he'll be feeling pretty confident. So Daniel Farke has got a selection headache on his hands up top this weekend. But if it's an unchanged team, like I said, I won't be surprised.
Now, what do you reckon to the result for this? Because it's so difficult. With last season, it was a bit of a convincing performance, but then the performance at Huddersfield with a virtually completely different team was a little bit shaky. What do you reckon to this one? Because you said it was going to be 1-1 at Huddersfield, and you weren't too far off.
No, I was conservative last week in my guess. I do think we'll win this week, but I think Preston are, I want to say, a much better team than Huddersfield. They are a better team than Huddersfield. They've certainly got more threats. Alex Neil's no mug, we know that. Of course, Preston beat us when we got promoted from the Championship last time. One of the 6 teams to beat us. I think we lost 6 games. They beat us 3-1 away, I think it was. And that was off on the back of sort of a few away games, so we looked a bit leggy. But I'm expecting us to win this one. Trouble is, Harvey, we're expected to win every week now this season, unless we're sort of playing Watford or someone or Brentford. It is going to be like that.
Well, what we're after is your gritty, realistic view of Norwich, because you've always been more of the pessimistic side versus Jacob's overly optimistic side.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to weed out what you think is in reality going to happen, because I look at a lot of the games, and the Championship's always like this. Is every game's a slog. So every time that someone says, "Yeah, it's an easy win for Norwich," I'm going to be like, "But is it? It's the Championship." So it'll be interesting to see in reality what you think it'll go down as.
I think we'll concede because Preston are a better team than Huddersfield. Basically, don't think we look that Yeah, we'll concede but win. I'll go 2-1 Norwich. 2-1 Norwich.
Any preference on goal scorers?
I obviously don't care. Don't care if it's an own goal off someone's arse. Really don't care. But I would love to see Pookie score and just lift that confidence up. Hugel against his old club would be nice. But no, Harvey, to be honest, I don't care, mate.
I'd like to see Buendia A on the team sheet and B in with a goal, because I think for him personally and for the club it'll be almost a nice note to end on, because it looks like he's going to go, and he hasn't scored for a while, and it would be quite nice for him to sort of do it up
on the flip side. What if he gets injured and is out until sort of mid-October when the transfer window closes? That'd be nice in a way. It's awful wishing that upon a player, but
you get to keep him.
I just want to keep him.
No matter how hard you try, he will go, unfortunately. But it will be interesting to see if he pulls a Grealish. I think some in the comments were saying similar, is that a season back in the Championship didn't do him any harm. So it would be interesting to see if he takes that route. But then the article was pretty adamant on him wanting to move back up. So we'll just have to see, because this is very reminiscent of the Grealish situation.
I think you're absolutely right. And I was watching the video done with Jacob yesterday, obviously, and he said, nothing Emmy said is sort of out of order, if you like. It's all fair enough. And I wouldn't begrudge him a move to a big club. But my thing was, especially with the club's links being further down the league, I think just wait till January, see where they are. If it doesn't look like we're going to go up, then by all means, off you go. But yeah, I don't think it will do him any harm. It's not like he scored a load of goals last season. I think if he had scored a handful, he would be off, like Jacob said. Completely agree with that. But yeah, I don't think it would do him any harm. I don't think he would lose any value to the club by staying for another season. Absolutely not. 4-year deal, of course.
So at least Norwich will claim some sort of transfer fee at least. Anyway, I think that's all we can preview at the moment. Let me know what you think, because we'd like to hear your predictions, your goal scorers perhaps, and obviously thanks for joining us, Joe. It's a rare occasion nowadays. So we will obviously see you in the next video, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Hi everyone, just a quick one. Canary Cast have teamed up with FansBet, and we're able to offer you an introductory offer whereby if you deposit a value up to £100, FansBet will boost it by 50%. So if you fancy a bet on the football at the weekend, head over there, use this code up here, just click on the link in the description below.